Okay, we have reached the end of a whole nother reading plan, and I want to kind of close the chapter on David's story in 1st and 2nd Samuel with the very last chapter, chapter 24. This is a tricky one for me because David gets in trouble for this census. And when I first read it, it kind of feels like God asked him to make it and then he gets in trouble for it. But there was a scholar who helped me point out something else that might be going on underneath the surface. And I want to just share that with you because I think the message at the end is something that you will relate to. David admits in verse 10, regardless of exactly what he's done, that he has done something wrong. And later, the people are going to be struck by this plague. And anytime you hear the word plague, your mind should go to one specific part of Israel's history, and that is, of course, the Exodus story. Pharaoh was in charge of all the people and he wouldn't let them free. And so God struck the people and Pharaoh with 10 different plagues. I think what the story is trying to tell us here is that whatever David is doing, he is acting a little bit like Pharaoh. Think about it this way. God's people, the Israelites, are holy, which just means they're set apart for special service to God. They belong to God, and God is the one who determines what they do, where they go, how they're used. And when David takes the census, he musters all his men together. In some ways, it is like he is pulling them together and preparing to use them for his own means. He's claiming them as his own, and he's going to command them rather than Yahweh. I think that's the sin that's going on here. But I want you to set that aside. And regardless of what David does wrong, look at how he responds when he does wrong. He tells the Lord, I have sinned greatly in what I have done. And the Lord gives him a choice of what consequences are going to come. And that's when the plague comes in. But then look at the very end. This is hard for us to fathom because we're individualists in our Western brain. And we think if I did wrong, I'm the only one who should suffer. But that is not the ancient world. In the ancient world, if I did wrong, it reflects on my community as a whole. The community did wrong. But David is going to go against the grain. And instead of allowing the community to bear his sin, he says at the end in verse 17 of 24, I have sinned. I have done wickedly. But these sheep, what have they done? Please let your hand be against me and against my father's house. This is a moment when David shines. Because what he is saying is, don't punish these people for my mistakes. Let it be on me. Let me bear the brunt of all of the punishment that goes on in this community. He then goes to build an altar there to the Lord in verse 25. This is a powerful moment to end this book on. Because David is saying, don't let anyone else suffer for my sin. And in doing so, he stands in the gap between God and the rest of the people. And while that may seem like not a big deal, there's another story looking back in the Old Testament and then another story looking forward to the New that kind of pulls this whole theme together. In the Old Testament, there was a story of the flood in Genesis. And what Noah does after the ark lands on dry land, he gets out, he builds an altar to the Lord and he sacrifices. And it's that sweet aroma of a person building an altar to the Lord. And it's after that where God says, never again am I going to do this. Never again am I going to flood the whole world. Even though humanity hasn't changed one bit, even though they're still going to mess up, I'm gonna respond differently in what I do. By the way, Moses does this exact same thing after the golden calf story. He stands in the gap between God and the people when they're down sinning, building the golden calf. Moses says, don't destroy them. Don't destroy them. Take me instead. And here we see David following in their example. Take me instead. Don't punish the people for what I've done. Later in the New Testament, there will be a king who comes along. Like David, he'll be a shepherd. He won't be the king that people expect. But in the end, he won't make mistakes. But he will stand in the gap for the people who do. And he will say, Lord, don't punish them for their own mistakes. They don't know what they're doing. Instead, take me. And Jesus will give his life for us so that we can know this kingdom that God has come to build. What I love about this story is David is not perfect. He's not the perfect king. And yet God still works through him because he has a heart that is constantly seeking faithfulness, that is constantly seeking after God. He admits his mistakes. He humbles himself before God. And he constantly seeks to move forward, to create the kingdom in partnership with God. And that's what I relate to in this story. I am far from perfect. I make mistakes all the time. But I love that God is not sitting there waiting to smite any of us because we make mistakes, but he's still saying, let's go. Come on, pick it up. Let's go. Keep going. Keep chasing after faithfulness. And when we mess up, we have the story of the perfect king who doesn't, who comes to set us free. And that's what this is all about. This is our Advent devotional, which starts on Monday, December 1st. Advent, of course, kicks off on Sunday the 30th. And what this does is tell the story of Jesus through the lens of hope, peace, joy, and love, the words of Advent. And what I hope is that you'll carry David's story through Advent. We'll be hearing about it in some of our venues, and that you will then transition with us into the story of the perfect king, the one who comes to lay down his life for you so that you can taste what the kingdom feels like. We'll be picking up that story in January as we study Matthew together. It's been so much fun. We love to hear what's standing out to you in this story here at the end of these plans. So email us and let us know what you've loved or even struggled with David's story. And we'll see you back in January.